She is a graduate of Westminster from the class of 2018, and she currently is working as a fourth grade aide with her teachers and our kids in fourth grade. She's going to come and share us a little bit about her life, about her story. In 2014, she was diagnosed with a rare form of muscular dystrophy called myotonic dystrophy. She's going to come tell us a little bit about who she is and kind of her life and what she's gone through. So if y'all would join me in giving her a warm welcome.
Hello, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Hannah Warren. My mom is Nurse Warren. I graduated from WA in 2018 and have been working in the fourth grade ever since. Looking at me, you would probably think that there's nothing wrong with me. But in 2014, I was diagnosed with a form of muscular dystrophy called myotonic dystrophy type 1. There is currently no cure. It does not look like anything is wrong with me because mostly my internal muscles are affected. This explains the health issues that I had been having for a few years prior. In 2012, I was diagnosed with scoliosis. If you do not know what that is, it is when there is a curve in your spine. In 2013, I had gotten very sick and we didn't know why. In both of these instances, my mom told the doctors her dad has myotonic dystrophy. Could this be myotonic dystrophy? Every time the doctor said no. After I was diagnosed in 2014, so many things made sense. On May 28, 2015, I had to have surgery for scoliosis because my spine had started pushing on my lungs. Because of my muscle weakness, I had complications with my lungs, ended up in the ICU, and was in the hospital for 2 weeks. In August, when I started my sophomore year, I began school with a walker and an oxygen tank. After 2 weeks, my doctor said my body could only handle being in school for half a day. From then until I graduated, I was only able to handle being at school for half a day, if even that long at all. I was in and out of the hospital. I even spent Christmas Day in the hospital in 2017 and 2018. During my junior and senior year, I started to lose a lot of weight. No matter what I did, I could not seem to gain it back. After I had lost 20 pounds, the doctors decided I needed to get a G-tube. So on February 1st, 2018, during senior year, I got my G-tube. This did not immediately make everything better. I was still very weak for a long time, which resulted in me being unable to go on the senior trip to Italy. Even though I was unable to go, my friends took a fan of my face, shared a public picture folder of things from each day, and wrote a notebook with stories from their time there. They even included pictures of my face in the notebook. By God's grace, I was able to graduate on time with my class that May. High school was very difficult for me, but God used my friends and classmates on this journey. Shortly after my diagnosis, a friend gave me 2 Corinthians 4:16-18, which has become my life verse. It says, "Therefore we do not lose heart, though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." So, Pink Day. What is it? First of all, it is September 13th. Sunday, September 15th, is International Myotonic Dystrophy Awareness Day. So that is why we are celebrating Pink Day. The past 2 years, WA has had a Pink Day with a bake sale to raise money and awareness for MDA. Why are we having Pink Day? Well, the backstory of this is after my surgery in 2015, when I had all of those complications, my doctors in the MDA clinic went above and beyond in my medical care. MDA stands for Muscular Dystrophy Association, and they specialize in neuromuscular disease. In 2016, I formed an MDA muscle walk team called Hannah's Hope, and WA showed up wearing pink, my favorite color, and there was a sea of pink among the crowds at the MDA muscle walk. Since then, WA has joined me in the fight against muscle disease. Westminster Academy even hosted the muscle walk for 2 years before COVID canceled that event, and it is yet to be restarted as an in-person event locally in Memphis. I am hopeful that it will be restarted soon. I am also now a local MDA ambassador and have been involved with fire departments all over the Mid-South and raising money for each department's Soul Food campaign. I have also had the opportunity to speak at other businesses, including Lowe's, Walgreens, and the National Association of Letter Carriers. I have enjoyed this because it has allowed me to spread awareness about muscle disease and raise money to hopefully one day find a cure. This is not the path that I would have chosen, but it is the path that God has chosen for me. Even though some days I do not feel my best and am in a lot of pain, with some days being worse than others, I choose to cling to Jesus, who is my hope, and that is the true meaning behind Hannah's Hope. He is good on my good days as well as the bad days. One of my mom's favorite verses is Psalm 29:10, which says, "The Lord sits enthroned over the flood." We also say, "The Lord sits enthroned over muscular dystrophy," and that is my hope as well. If you'd like to learn more about my story, I have a YouTube channel called Hannah's Hope that was formed 4 years ago. I talk about my full story and other things going on in my life there. Thank you.
On a day-to-day basis, how this disease has affected her life. And then we'll have a few minutes for some questions at the end too. If you guys have questions for Hannah, have questions about myotonic dystrophy, that sort of thing. So Hannah, you told us a little bit about yourself and about this disease. Can you give us an idea about when you started experiencing symptoms, maybe what your life was like as a little kid, and when things started to change?
So my life as a little kid was just a normal kid's life. Everything a little kid does. Didn't know that I had it. We knew my dad had it at that time, but my parents decided not to test me when I was born because they knew if they tested me then, they would treat me as a handicap my whole life. So they decided to wait. And then in 2012 was when I first started experiencing some symptoms. I was in middle school. One thing y'all can do is put your hand in a tight fist, very tight, and now open it. I cannot open mine. It'll take a few minutes for it to relax, and then I'll be able to fully open it. So that is the first thing, and then also my tongue would sometimes tighten when I would speak. And then scoliosis. Those were my first 3 things that made us question, do I have it?
Makes sense. So can you give us an idea about what muscular dystrophy is? Has anyone heard of muscular dystrophy before? Okay, tell us about it.
So there are several different kinds of muscular dystrophy. So one of the common ones is Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, which is what people usually think of when they hear muscular dystrophy. That one only occurs in boys, and they usually end up in a wheelchair pretty early, and sometimes they make it to their 30s. I have a friend right now who's in his 20s, and he's been struggling a lot, so they don't make it through a normal lifespan.
Y'all may have seen people who maybe have a harder time with walking, or they're stilted. It's because of that, like Hannah showed us, with the muscles not contracting correctly,
Not relaxing.
not relaxing. Okay.
And my dad also walks with a cane now because he has the muscular dystrophy too, and his ankles are weak.
What is that caused by? What's happening kind of biologically?
So, the muscles, for myotonic dystrophy, the muscles over time deteriorate, and it starts in the distal muscles, which are, type 1 starts in the distal muscles, which are the outer muscles like the hands and feet. Type 2 starts in the proximal muscles, which are like the hips, which is used more for walking. So I have type 1, so my dad's ankles have gotten weak, the muscles have deteriorated over time, and so he now needs a cane for his balance and for walking. And y'all might see me sometimes walking with a walking stick for extra support.
So myotonic dystrophy can sometimes look more invisible than muscular dystrophy. Can you help us understand how this disease is affecting you physically?
So it mostly affects my GI and breathing muscles. Every day I am in pain in my rib cage. The pain hasn't gone away. It's always there. So it hurts for me to breathe. And that is what affects me the most.
So we think about muscles like, our ankle muscles or calf muscles, but this is lung and this is GI and things that cause your body to function differently. Not necessarily just so much on your outside that we can see, but internally that pain that you're experiencing.
Yes.
What was this like as a teenager? How did it affect your day to day?
So I was diagnosed in 2014. So I was in middle school at that point. At first, I didn't want anyone to know, and I wanted to keep it a secret, just because I felt like I would be viewed differently if I told people about it. So my teachers knew, but none of my classmates knew. So I tried to hide it for as long as I could, but then in 2015, after my surgery, when I came back to school with a walker and oxygen, I felt like my classmates needed to know, and instead of being rejected like I thought I would be, they embraced me and showed me a lot of love and support. And so as a teenager, there were some things I couldn't do, like I couldn't be at school half day, I couldn't always go to parties and things, but I still was given support and able to do some things.
So most things physically were just as much more strenuous or nearly impossible to do.
Yes.
So not even, Hannah, for a while there, was it your junior year and senior year that you only came half day?
In my sophomore year.
And sophomore year. So just being at school, sitting up and attending to the work was physically too hard for her because of this disease and how it affected you. I'm sure that affected you a lot in terms of social connection to people. Did you feel like you had an opportunity to open up at some point to your classmates?
So in 2015, when I felt like my class needed to know, my mom went ahead and emailed the parents of the class so that they could share it with their kids. And the first time I really opened up more was probably at the 2016 MDA Muscle Walk, because at the Muscle Walk I was able to share my story. And so that was when they probably learned most of the day-to-day. But I was not in rib pain at that first MDA Muscle Walk. It wasn't until fall of 2016 that I started having the breathing pain.
So, Hannah, because this is invisible in a sense, there may be little keys that if we're paying attention we would notice about you. I imagine that you dealt with a lot of that by yourself internally, that it is things that you're experiencing by yourself. Did that affect your spiritual life?
No, I feel like God has taught me to trust Him through everything, because I don't know anyone who experiences the same kind of pain that I did. So God has taught me just to trust Him and taught me that He's always there.
So you've grown, do you feel like you've grown in your ways of seeing God's faithfulness in your life? Do you have any examples of how He's been faithful to you and your family?
So an example in my life has been, I don't sleep well at night usually, and it has to do with the muscular dystrophy. Sometimes I only get 2 hours of sleep. It varies, but God has showed His faithfulness to me in that by giving me the strength I need to face each day.
So what advice would you give for somebody who's suffering with a chronic illness? For us as students, to give and help to learn how to comfort those who are suffering?
I could give a lot of advice. One thing that I don't like that bothers me is when I get a lot of pity. I would say it's okay to say, I'm sorry you're going through this, but I've had some people that just keep going on and on and on, and that is not helpful. One thing that someone else said is, that I heard that I really liked is, don't tell someone you know exactly how they feel, because you don't truly know exactly how they feel, but you can offer words of encouragement and help them in that way. And you can share with them one way, something similar to how you've had a problem.
So making a connection is good. It's
Yes.
a good thing to be able to do that, because you can talk about your own issues as well, and not just about, okay, tell me about what's going on. We need both. It's kind of a balance between those things.
Yes, and words of encouragement are always very helpful, or even giving someone a Bible verse that might help them.
Are there any other specific ways you talked about in Italy having to miss out on that trip? What was that like for you?
So it was hard, but I knew with where my health was, I probably would not be able to go. I knew if I went, I would definitely have to take a walker or wheelchair, because I wouldn't be able to walk the distances that they walk every day. So it was hard, but then having the photo album shared with me was really encouraging, and just seeing my face pop up in different photos was also really encouraging.
Well, tell us a little bit about MDA. We'll shift here a little bit.
So MDA is Muscular Dystrophy Association. My specific form of muscular dystrophy is MDF, Myotonic Dystrophy Foundation, but it falls under the MDA umbrella. ALS is also under the MDA umbrella. I think there are like 42 maybe different types, something like that, of muscle disease that MDA covers.
So, what is your role as an ambassador? What are you told us a few things. Is there anything else that you do?
So speaking at businesses, like I mentioned, Lowe's, Walgreens, National Association of Letter Carriers, or if there are any other fundraisers that they want me to speak to, I've also recorded videos that they send to different places, and I can also write letters to thank people for their support.
So what can we do to help people who are suffering with this disease, or MDA or MDF?
Well, if you buy things from the bake sale, all of that money will go to MDA to help support research, so that hopefully they can one day find a cure.
Do y'all understand when we have groups who are research-based, and we raise money for, say, breast cancer awareness or pancreatic cancer awareness, that money that we raise goes towards paying for people who are scientists who research different cures, different medicines, how different patients deal and progress with these diseases that they have. So it's a great way for you to be able to be a part of helping somebody like Hannah. That research is really, really very valuable. We've been blessed with knowledge and the ability by God to be able to learn those things and to research for people who are very curious and very serious about that. It's been very good. Well, I want to thank Hannah for her time coming here today to tell us. I hope that puts not just a name and a face, but a story here for you and a personal connection. Hannah loves talking about all sorts of things, not just her disease. I think that you can see that though her disease is a large part of who she is, it doesn't define who she is. It's not all who she is. The name of her fundraising campaign is Hannah's Hope. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, about your hope?
So my hope is in Jesus, ultimately, and I have hope that one day a cure will be found for all muscular dystrophies, not just myotonic dystrophy.
So what can we do? Bring change on Friday. Bring money to support the bake sale. Bring things that you've baked or that you bought at Kroger. That would be a huge help because it's going towards something that's important. It's helping our friend here.
And we will also be collecting change in a firefighter's boot. One of my close firefighter friends has a boot from when he is still the boot, so we will have that here as well for change.
Yeah, a long time sort of mission or charity for the fire department has been supporting MDA. So you may see around this month, sometimes firefighters come out. And anybody go to the Germantown Festival? Were the firefighters there? Sometimes they're there and they have big MDA signs and they hold up a boot and drop your change in. So we'll have that kind of as a visual reminder for you. But let's thank Hannah for coming and sharing with us today.